Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream, impromptu on Saturday afternoon, and it's recorded for Ustream.tv and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I'm playing with my Inktense pencils and doing a comparison with my Inktense blocks. I've had these pencils quite a number of years, since they first came out, and so I thought I would quite like to have the pastels. So what I'm doing is scratching a little bit of colour from the pastel and the corresponding pencil on the bird mirror image, kind of. So if I'm putting deep purple here, I'm going to put deep purple here to correspond with the soft green colour turquoise that I put on the other side. So I like working with these colours. I like working with the pencils. The blocks, I have to say, are a little bit easier for me to hold because the pencil is a little bit harder, whereas this kind of just not quite as soft as a pastel, but it kind of glides across. The cross between a pastel and a crayon, a watercolour crayon, I would say are the Inktense. Not in colour, but in texture and for getting onto a page. They are really, really quite nice and soft. So I want to just have a bit of a play. Might bring that down a little bit, and you can either use the corner or you can use the edge, or you've got the flat edge, or if it was a big space you could use that, the full flat side. This, you've got the flat edge and a point, so you've got a little bit more softness, and you can put more colour down in a bigger space with the pastel. So that's the difference in actually applying colour. So that's what they look like dried. So there's no pencil marks, there's no sharp edges. I find that the Inktense block, will blend that little bit softer. And so so we've got purple, and we're going to use purple anywhere else. No, I don't think so. I think they're going to just go for multicoloured, I think. Thistle is quite a nice colour, so I think I'm going to put thistle here. And obviously the birds aren't exactly the same, so it's just a general comparison of colour mixing and colour blending, and blending with a 720, it should be that one. So because the pencils are numbered, they correspond. Now some of my pencils are older, so they have 100 and then they're 72, 0 to 72. But some of them are the more rounded modern ones. So I've got 0720, and of course the Inktense block aren't named, but they have 0720. So I know that these two colours are the same. So if you wanted to do a big wash area with this, and then do finer detail with this, you could do, because you know they are corresponding colours. So I now know that I can just scratch a little bit of colour with this, and they're going to be the same colour. Now they're probably not going to be the same strength, and I use both these as I would normally. I would normally scratch a little bit of colour with the block, and I would blend a bit of colour with the pencil, so they can go back where they belong. And I do like to keep mine in a pencil box because they're not clattering about. And I've been quite bad, and I've taken out when you get these new Derwent pencils, they've put a piece of cardboard behind the tray, and that stops it twisting, so it can't break. So that's why mine arrived in perfect condition. So I'm going to glue this one to the actual board, and then I can pick it up as one. But before I do that, I'm going to draw around it, and it's actually corrugated, what we call corrugated. It's about 10 millimeters deep. But I think about if you had a cereal packet and you cut 2 or 3 sides and stuck them together, that would be about the same thickness, as long as it's rigid. That's what you want. Corrugated is rigid, and it's to stop it bending, and it does. So I'm going to make another one of these, and I'm going to stick it to the bottom, because although they're not designed to come out, these are actually quite nice wells to scratch colour in and then make a wash. So you've got 6 wells in there, but I normally tend not to use them, but I like them on a flat surface. And when they're in this little tray, they're compacted and they're sitting here, and they're not going to fall out, they're not going to move. But when they're kind of a little bit looser, you can put your fingers in and just pull them out very, very easily. And it's a little bit trickier to do that when they're in the trays, but you have to keep these flat, because if you twist them or lift them up, they will snap. So you have to be quite careful with them. But these new foam little cradles kind of do literally cradle the crayons and keep them very safe. But this is quite a nice way to pick them out, use them, and then pop them back. But it all depends on how you're going to use them. If you're going to use them wet, then you need to leave them where they are. Have you got any questions? So I'm going to carry on with these colours. This is a nice colour. I think actually sometimes I could look at this. So this one is 1,4,10, I think. Don't know what colour that one is. It's purple. Do I want a paler colour under there? Probably not. So the next one, I think I'm going to put... Oh, that's what he meant. That's what the cat did. He said they dropped on the floor. So the cat pushed the tin on the floor. That's a really bad kitty cat. But that's fine. Means I can... Oops, I've done that wrong. So let me have a look. So that's 700. So 700 in here, I think. Is fuchsia. Just double check. I think that's right, the same one. But I want to see if that comes off. So let me get my eraser. I've got the pastel. Bear with me a second. I wonder how good it is that if you make a mistake, you can erase it like you can the pastels. So if I just get my little magic eraser from there. This may not work, but we'll have a go. I wasn't watching what I was doing. So that's 710. So I think that's the fuchsia, which is a very vibrant pink. So I have to keep reminding myself not to carry on doing things. And have a look at what else have we got? Oh, thank you, darling. Apple green. And I think an apple green chest might be nice. It's telling they're just on the top there. If they're not, they're in the other room. So, sorry, we have an Alfie. We have a half. Oh, well, I'll just shut the door because. Sorry, I'll just have to shut the sound off. Just bear with me a second. Sorry about that. Hi Kelly, Judy, Carol, Debbie, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else? Miss Vicky, Carol TMT, welcome to Bunny's Designs. We have a little bark alert, so I do apologise. So that is such a bad puppy. Sorry. There's a young lady at the door, so he's in one of his little grumpy moods, so apologies for that. So I just turn the sound off for a second because it'll just go crazy. So welcome to Bunny's Design. Oh, sorry about that. So 0820 is Peacock Blue, and it's the same number as the pencils. It's just that my pencils are a little bit older. So because my pencils are that bit older. Some of them aren't numbered. So we've got green going to bed, and then we want going to bed to clear, and then we've got those. So he's a bit of a grump boy, he's our Alfie Pants, to say the least. I think we might have a 0210, so we'll have a look for a 0210. Oh, hi Tara, anybody else I've missed? Welcome to Bunny's Designs. Yes, Alfie Pants scaring everybody because he's really, really bad. So, although these aren't named, because that's 0210, this one's 0210 and it's cadmium yellow. So on the pencil at this side, so I'm doing a comparison on this side. So welcome to live Barky Pants, our Alfie. He's a live monster. So I'm doing a comparison of the Inktense blocks and the pencils, and seeing how different they are and how easy they are to use. I've fallen in love with the pastels, I have to say, the blocks, because they seem to just glide on, and it does seem to be very much like a pastel. Whereas the pencil, I've got some nice soft little colouring ins, but of course this is not the blending test. I'm going to blend them with a damp brush. So we've got a poppy red, so I think this would be nice. Next, poppy red. Oopsie. Trying to keep the pencils at one side and if you use soft circular motions and you use the edge of the pencil rather than the point, you shouldn't have any pencil scratchy marks and lines. It should be a gentle kind of soft. You need to do it really that side, so you could just do soft. There's a bit of a crease at this side, so it's always difficult getting into that crease. So I've kind of got a bit of a soft, it's kind of stronger down here. Get that really lovely poppy red, vivid Inktense colour under that wing. Excuse me, I do apologise. I had an asthma attack earlier today and it's made me a bit kind of croaky. And then the beauty of it is you can look for, this is a very old one, so it says 104, so mine would be, I don't know if it would be 10-4. We could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, number 13, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 410. Oopsie. Just to make sure. So I could look on that little, I don't think that's the right colour actually. I think that's the wrong colour, but I'll just have a look. Yeah, that's the wrong colour. It's definitely a poppy red we want, so I think it's this one. Yeah, I think 400 is 410, so let me just scratch that bit of colour there. Oops, do apologise. Yeah, that's the right colour. So I think that's the nice colour, but I'm just going to double check. I'm sure it is. I'm sure you knock the 10 off and make it 400. And that's under this wing, I think. I'm going to do it under this wing, I think. So on the pencil we've got the point, we've got the side, and we've got the flatness, and on here we've got the corner, we've got the ridge, and if we wanted we could have the whole flat side of the pencil. Sorry, of the crayon, of the block. It feels very much like a pastel, and so I'll just put a tiny bit more in there to build up that colour, and then we can blend it out, and that's what I think the difference is going to be, the blending. So we're going to have, should be a nice display, and I may as well do that one as well. The birds are not going to be identical, but there should be a similarity in colour, I think. So I'll pop that one back. So I love the fact that they are corresponding colours. I like that, and numbers. That makes everything so much easier. And I kind of want the cadmium yellow. Oops, drop that one. Aha. So, yeah, if you drop them on the floor, they break. Which we probably knew that anyway. Didn't actually need me to didn't need me to do that to tell you that, did you? But there we go. So if you drop them on the floor, they break. They're quite delicate, but as I say, my hands don't work very well today. I did a lot of things yesterday, and so they're really kind of scuppered today. But that's going to make me use them now and not kind of protect them too much. Oh, hi Dorothy, anybody else popping in? What was I doing there? So we've got kind of nice colours there. I just want to see if that's going to be the same, so I think I may put some of that green under there as well, I think. And put that under there, so I may as well put some of that under there. And that was 1320. So 1320. Sorry, I apologise. Oops. No, 1310. Sorry, 1310. I thought that was wrong. So Whoopsie. Now I'll zoom in and then I'll activate it with a damp brush and we can see the difference. Little pen. Oh, hi Mel, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Yes, I'm doing a comparison between the pencils and the Inktense blocks. And I've just made a bit of a boo-boo, but it's, apart from that, they are identical colours. But I've scribbled one with pencil and I've scribbled one in block, just to see if there's a big difference. And I'm just going to zooming in, not out. And I think that might be in focus. So on this side it's kind of smooth, soft pencil, and then on this side it's a little bit of pastel-y, little bit of pastel, soft. Oh, sorry, I do apologise. Goodness only knows what's going on outside. So what you have to do when you do this method with the long riggers is you have to look at the space that you're colouring, that you're going to activate with water, because it's different. I haven't decided, Carol. Carol's just asking, do I prefer the Inktense or the watercolour for books? I would have said the watercolour. My Derwent watercolour pencils are watercolours, and I think they just have the edge. They really do. They're so versatile, and you can mix as many colours as you want pencil wise. You can scratch as many colours together. Sorry, these are not the right ones, these are the watercolour ones. And you can mix as many colours as you want together. You can make washes, you can do all sorts with these. You can't do that with the Inktense because of this thing that once they are activated they are set. But the Inktense, you can work on different materials. Some people paint on stone, some people paint on plastic, they paint on glass, silk, calico. So different. They're a different product, although I actually use them in a colour book. Colour book wise, I don't know, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because when you look at this page for a colour book, if you there isn't. Oh, I have to pan out. I'll answer your question, darling, because it's a good one. Just bear with me 2 seconds. So, if you look at these two pages, they're both quite vivid colours, and then there's the pastel shades. So it's a really difficult one to answer because there's some really nice, sorry it's out of focus, but some really nice, just let me put the autofocus on, and it will jump about a bit, but you will get some really nice, soft watercolour effects. And then some kind of really vivid, deep colours. And at this side, some really soft washes. It's all to do with the riggers. It's all to do with the riggers. It's just not focusing as I would like it to do. Come on, you know you want to. But there's some very, very, very nice subtle watercolour effects on here as well. Worked in exactly the same way. I think there is a video on this, I think. This is Inktense pencils, this is Derwent watercolours. So from the vibrancy point of view, there's not much in it. These are obviously going to be that bit more because they're Inktense. These are just Derwent watercolours, but as I say, they're so understated because they are absolutely amazing. So I have to say my fave, I've had them, as I say, 20 odd years. These are my fave, those pencils. They just are so versatile, and you can use them on watercolour paper as a watercolour, and you can mix 10 greens together and you won't get mud. You can't do that with any other watercolour. So I have to say the Derwent watercolour pencils are quite spectacular. Did I answer your question? Oh, excuse me, let me see if I can just puddle back in there again. So, with the rigger, as I say, if it's a big space and you want a nice big blend from dark to light, you need a bigger rigger. If it's a smaller space, you want a gentle, smaller brush. But you only need about 3 different sizes: a big one, a medium sized, and a fine. And it's the tips that's the magic. This is holding the dampness, but it's the tips that manipulate that colour around. And I work exactly the same way, except for if you use Derwent watercolour pencils, you can go back in and manipulate that colour again. If you work with Inktense, you have to do it in one. So I will show you I work exactly the same way, but one, if I make a mess of it, I can replay with it. The other one, I'll have to go over it. So Inktense pencil, again, is not, once it's dried, and again, it's not completely set. There's a dark area there. So don't think you could just get a paintbrush and go over it and it will not move. Some of it may move, but the majority of it will stick. So if you haven't got that lovely soft highlight, you're not going to get it because you get a hard line on it. Oh yes, I've got some tinted charcoals as well, but I must admit I do like their blocks at the moment. Have to say, oh, just let me take the jumpy bit off. Will you go away? Thank you. And then I just bring that into sharp. Oops, now I can't see what I'm... Oh, Mel says, what's the difference between a rigger and a brush, and a rigger brush and a liner? I think sometimes it's just in the name and some's in the length. I use liners and riggers. If you look at the series 33, my favourite brush is a liner. My fave ever brush I use the most. And then of course you've got a half rigger. That's a half rigger. Whoopsie, that's a half rigger. But the which is the one I use, and it's called a liner. I think it's the 10-0. It might not have come out. There it is, I think. This one is a 10-0 and it's a liner, and it's my favourite one. but if you look at it, it's finer than, oopsie, it's finer than the half rigger. So you've got the riggers, you've got half riggers, and then the fine ones are the liners, and the liners are for sign writers to have a continuously long flowing action, but thinner than a rigger. But a rigger is a thin line as well. The longer the longer the brush, the damp, the longer you've got to manipulate it. So if you have a tiny bit of colour, you're going to get some really soft pastel shades. If it's a short brush, you're going to have kind of pale and then dark. You're not going to get that lovely long flowy watercolour effect. That's why the rigger is the magic in watercolouring in a colour book. Did that make any sense? Yes, the liners are thinner. And they do different jobs. I use mine for fine, really tiny areas, but I'm not going to probably manipulate it into a blend, a pale highlighted blend. Whereas the riggers, I know I can blend from dark, and I'm going to take that until it's the most palest of pale to make it look like a nice natural highlight. So that's why I use the riggers, and I usually use them in threes. I buy them in threes and I use them in threes, a fat, a medium and a thin, and that's really all you need is three. But I do like my little tiny one, my liner. Did that make sense? Oh good, I'm glad. Sometimes I get a bit waffly. So I want a really nice blend on here, so I'm going to go with the biggest brush I have, which is the Pro Art number 6. And you need to turn the book, oopsie, so you have a nice continuous flow, because you can't really stop. I don't want to be too wet with this. But I'm only having a bit of a play with these, and if you notice I haven't put too much on this one, so this one's kind of just going to be like a mottle. It's not really going to have much of a blend. Like you say, once you've activated this pastel, you get the vibrant colour, but it's not going anywhere, this. So what you can do is really quickly is turn that around and manipulate it. And this rigger is still giving out a little tiny bit of water, so you can take that down. So you've got a really nice soft blend. And the other one's a bit smaller, so I'm going to go in the medium size, number 5. Sorry, my dog's just lost the ball. Alfie, can you go away, please? Has it gone under there? Yes, it's gone under there. Have you got it? No. Oh. Yes, it's here, but this is mine. If you put it back down, that'd be wonderful, thank you. Alfie. Oh. Alfie's terrible. Right, so again, I'm going to go down, go up. I'm going to go up with this one. Sorry, bark alert, Grumpy Dexter. So I'm going to take this one up here. And I don't normally do 2 different colours, so I'm not sure how this is going to work out. And I'm going to very quickly, so if I make everybody sick, but you cannot mess about with this, is touch this dark. And they are the most gorgeous colours. They're very vibrant, as of course you'd expect. But I need to take that completely down there. And luckily, like I said, it wasn't completely set, so I can take it all the way down. So, not brilliant, but I did have two kind of nice blends. And now we've got a kind of a smaller area there, so sorry, I don't know why he's been a little monster. Suzanne, put your foot down. He's been a monster. Is Suzanne still with us? He's been a terror today. My daughter's home from uni, so let's hope he behaves himself. And again, I quite like the idea that you can take it and make a very soft blend without any harsh lines. And you can go from pale to dark, so I kind of like that as well. So onto this little one here. And again, you can tell as soon as you've activated it that it wants to go, so you really need to kind of, oh, I might actually just take it to there, I think. And then, so we've activated it and we've just taken it to here. So in theory, it's all set now. So it's all set. But I shall turn it over, and this may not work, this may work. So what I'm going to do is activate all this again and take that down there. So it's never always completely set. If it's a very dark colour, you can guarantee there is going to be some colour left. So we've got very pale pink, but it is pale. So it's out of focus a bit. But it wasn't completely set. It was set, I did activate it, but because it was such a strong colour and there was a lot of it, it was a very, it was a proper covering. I could move it again, and that's what I mean. It's never 100% set. If I went over this here and across, it would continue very pale, but it would do it. It would move. The other thing to do is not to do it while it's wet. I mean, it's dry now, but it's still damp. It will not be able to do it again until tomorrow, if you really wanted to move it. So never think that although it's Inktense and it's supposed to be set, because they are so intense that every molecule has to be activated with water, and in some very, very strong colours like there, you can guarantee it's not going to be, so it will move again. Oh, thank you. Yes, they are, aren't they? Absolutely fantastic colours. Again, that's the difference between the Inktense and the Derwent watercolours. They are unusual, I would kind of say unnatural colours, but it's how vibrant do you want to be. And you can go over these and add on top. And again, with the watercolour, all you're going to do is activate all of it, whereas the Inktense you don't. Except for when it's a very dark colour. Here it probably is set fast. Here it probably isn't. So I could take this across and it wouldn't get very much, but if I went that way it would go pink. So you have to think of that, and that's with all of them. Even if they say activated and then they're set, they're not going to be 100% set if they're very, very strong. Oh, you like the pencil, do you? Better than the... It may be the way that I'm doing it, though. It may be the way that I'm doing it. Blending wise, I think the pastels are softer. They react with water better, I think. This is pastel, that's pencil. Especially when you look at this picture here. When you look at this one, that's Inktense blocks. I was really surprised how soft these colours could be. Very, very soft pastel-y colours. I really liked that page, and that was very shocking for me to get this very, very pale colour from a tiny bit of scratched colour, and it was very easy as well. So I don't know, I'm on the fence with them. I love both. I think probably from an arthritic point of view, the pastels are softer, and so they kind of just glide on the page with very little effort. Oh, welcome back, Suzanne. So I'm sorry about having to turn it round a bit, but again, I've got the bigger brush here, so I'm activating this green. And really it should be the other way around, going from darker to light on top, but you'll be able to see, hopefully, just a very soft, subtle change. Not much, I have to say. And I am cleaning the brush after every one, so... One thing you've got to do though, if you're using light to dark, if you're blending two colours, always blend the lightest first, because the darkest will just disintegrate any soft colour. I've missed a wing there. I don't know why I've missed a wing, but I've missed a wing there, so we want the one that I dropped on the floor. Silly girl. So anybody else got any questions? So actually this was probably a bit small, this brush, but just kind of keep going and keep activating this colour. And you can build up, but I would do it the following day. I wouldn't even do it the same day, because pages react with the water, not really the pastel or the pencil. It's the amount of water that's already touched it once. It needs a good overnight to dry out properly. And then of course with the Inktense you could go in there and build it up to stronger and stronger colours. So I did put just dead flat colour on that. And I didn't put any on that one, so this is the pastel, and that one was I think that was 310, wasn't it? I think it was this one. So where you have the point of the pencil, you've got the point of the corner if it's a block. They're creamier I think once they're mixed with water, they're kind of denser but creamier, if that makes any sense. There's less blending with water, I think. Oh, bye Vicky, thank you for stopping by, darling. Take care, have a lovely day. Bye Debbie. Yes, Suzanne, your child has been naughty. Send me to the naughty corner. Your child has been very bad. How dare somebody knock on the door on a Saturday afternoon? I think the tail is going to be the telltale of the expression, because this is going to be kind of we can get this lovely soft colour going and then tease it out. This is the beauty of the rigger, that the colour is at the end, but most of this brush has just got a little bit of damp water that's going to be released as slowly as possible, so you have a beautiful soft blend. If you touch this with a watercolour, you'd get a gush of water. Sorry, a watercolour brush, I beg your pardon. A normal little fat watercolour brush. It's the fact that this is the rigger that it releases all this water very slowly, and you can keep going for longer as well. So again, that's quite nice. So manipulating it, making the colour, and then drawing that colour out. The complete opposite to the chameleon pens, but it works in the same way. That one has a dark colour felt pen, and then you're manipulating the colour. To go for a smaller brush this time. You're manipulating the colour, so more of the pigment's coming back. This way you've got the colour and the water is diluting it, but it works the exact opposite of a chameleon pen. So as long as you keep going, you'll end up with white or almost white. And the only difference is the bigger the space, the bigger the rigger. So you end up with a beautiful soft blend, and it's the rigger that's done that, not the paint, really. It's the blend that's quite good, and the fact that it's good pigment. And Caran d'Ache will do it well because it's good pigment. There's the Faber-Castell crayons. They do very well because the pigment is wonderful. But if you get cheaper brands, they don't normally quite as good, but they will still do it. Watercolours will do it. The Cotman Winsor Newton Cotman, they're quite good quality pigments. They will do quite nicely. Just a tiny bit of colour and manipulate that to almost no colour whatsoever. The only thing with the Inktense is you have to keep going, because if you stop you'll get a line. It's a bit difficult when you've got the crease of the corner of the paper as well, but persevere in there somewhere. Right. You see, I stopped, so I have a line, so I need to come back and manipulate that out. Oopsie, sorry. And then I need to go where it was darkest and hope it's going to be as pale, and then it's not going to look silly. You've got to guess, but when you've done quite a few, you can guess quite well. So you just have a hint of colour. It does look orange, but it's it's actually pink, but it looks a bit orange on mine, but because the lighting is good I don't really play with it, so the colour's off slightly, but if I lift that you can see it's actually a pinky red. It's a pinky red. But that's what you can do with a rigger. You get from deepest deep, and you could have that deeper if you wanted, to absolutely nothing. Has anybody got any questions? Oh, what did Suzanne? Oh, Miss Packer bag. He's got a permanent bag packed, as Alfie. So that was the pastel, and I think it was 100, wasn't it? Did I say it was? Yes, it was this one, I think. Let's soon find out. So we'll put a tiny bit of that there. So that was number 400. I've just put the tiny bit under there because I forgot it, and then we'll just manoeuvre that around. So we have two birds with the same colours, but one's Inktense, and I don't think there's much in it, and it was almost the same brushes. There's not much in them, I don't think. It's all down to if you want bigger washes, and it's the amount of pigment you put on. Don't know if anybody else has found that. Oh, bye Tara, thanks for stopping by. So, although that was short and sweet, if I pan out a bit, bear with me a second, you can see that the little birds don't really look any different. So if you're working with a rigger, and if you're working that way, there's not much difference. I did put probably a little bit more pencil on here, and I was softer with that one. Obviously both completely dry. So colour wise, it's all to do with how much of the actual pigment you put down. You'd think that I thought this one would be stronger, but I did put a bit more colour in this one. The pencil, I remember, was higher up than this one, it was softer. So if you put a bit more to that. But I don't think there's very much difference, although that does look a little bit stronger, so you can get a softer blend. So that means the blocks are a little bit softer, because you can get away with putting less down. Now the only other way that would be reversed is when I use them in this form. When I use them with my little book of colours, I've got more control over them, than I have scratching on here. But there's no reason why you can't put the blocks on there or the pencils. So if you had the pencils, you've got the deeper bit and you've got the paler bit as well. But if you scratch a paper palette, you've got more control over your colour. You get paler colours rather than completely scratching in a full-blown shade of colour. Did that make sense? But apart from that, I don't think there's very much difference between the blocks. Oopsie. The blocks and the pencils. So I've had the pencils here. Oops. Well, they were pencils, and I've got the blocks there. So colour-wise, there's not much in them. It's all to do with preference, and if you want to do a lot of heavy washing, very, very strong colours, if you were building up on watercolour. But for colour books, the pencil's quite versatile. So it's a difficult call, is that one. And I think they're both quite good in price. Comparison wise, I think they're quite similar. It's to do with how you do washes with them. So I might do another comparison with washes, because I think these will be a little bit softer so that you wouldn't use as much. I think that's how I've interpreted this little bit here. So thank you for watching.